according to Judaism, we shouldn't be cremated. So she tells me, I know, I really don't want her to be cremated. Like, I'm traditional, and I know, and I want her to be buried properly, but I don't know what to do. She wrote it in her will. And then the woman says, you have no idea how much I want her not to be cremated. So she says her father was cremated. And she said the night that her father was cremated, her father came to her in a dream, burning alive, and she watched her father scream, burning alive, right? And she realized that, and by the way, it says in Gemara that whatever happens to a person's physical body, the neshama feels it, right? Now, what happens is over time, a little ant gets a bite here, a bite there, and then slowly. So it's kind of like, if you cremate, you kind of like burning them to pieces. It's apparently really, really painful for the soul to be cremated. Yeah, that means that you can't see them going through pain. That's the only difference. The neshama, the soul, perhaps does experience pain, or at some point. And that's what it seems to be suggested in Jewish literature, that a body does feel the pain of, the soul does feel the pain of the body. And so therefore, cremation is really horrible. It's meant to kind of slowly go back into the dust. From dust you came, from dust you go back, return. And therefore, it's meant to be that a person's buried and slowly goes back. Huh? Good question. First of all, apparently there's certain parts of the body that don't disappear, even when they cremate. When they cremate somebody, and they give you back this jar of ashes. That's the remains. That's the remains of yeah. That's the remains of these. Huh? What's that? Yeah, that's what people do when they get cremated. They give the family the box, and then they spread the dust somewhere, and that's that. Yeah.
It says something about the loose bone, the bone where the dalet on the tefillin goes. In the back it's the densest bone in the body. Apparently, that when you're cremated, that bone doesn't burn up entirely.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting how to see this whole concept with cremation. But the point is that a person should not be cremated according to Judaism. You'd ask, well, what about all the space? So I'm going to tell you something really spooky that you might like, you might not like. But in ancient Jewish tradition, they used to bury the body. Listen, they used to bury the body and leave it buried for about 10 years, 15 years, right? Then after a certain amount of time, I forget exactly, I think it was about 10 or 15 years, they used to come back, dig up the grave, collect the bones, which were there, and then they would bury that in, like, there was like a family grave where their entire family, for as long as they can trace back, was buried there. So you'd have like this grave site where you would literally have hundreds, if not more than hundreds, maybe thousands of bones in this one place. So in Judaism, they used to do that. It's no longer the custom. The custom today is you bury them and that's that. No, I'm saying that in the ancient Jewish tradition, they used to actually dig up the grave after 10 or so years, collect the bones. It's actually we actually read about that. For those of you who did three Perek Rambam, it actually speaks about it in the mourning rules, the laws of mourning. And it says that you have to mourn for that day. That meaning that if you collect, it's called collecting the bones of your parents. You would collect the bones of the parents, huh? Apparently it does, but again, I'm not sure if they did it because of space. In the olden days, maybe they felt it was taking up too much space. If you had a society that lived for many generations, maybe it was just like they didn't know what to do with the space. So they used to dig the bone. They used to dig up the body, collect the bones, right? And they used to have like a family grave site where all the bones of that family was in that one place, like in a small place. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if that's the minhag of the place, then that's the way they did it. It's spoken about in halacha, all the way back to the time of the Talmud. It's discussed.
The body should be like in its own casket.
What?
The body should be in its own.
It should, again, when it's buried originally, that's the way it's done. When you bury the body originally, you bury it in the ground because it's meant to kind of disintegrate and go back into the ground, right? But then at some point, they used to dig it up, collect the bones that were left, and they used to put the bones in another place. As a matter of fact, I don't know how many of you know, But in Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, there was actually a time where these Jewish guys snuck into the cave. Normally, the cave is off limits; you can't go there. There's superstitions about people that went there and died, and there was some brave Jewish souls that figured out how to sneak in one time. They actually have pictures of it, and they went in. They went into the cave of the patriarchs in Hebron. This was many years ago, and they even have some pictures of it. And the guy that did it, I think he's still alive now. I saw him interviewed recently. And he said that when he got into they went into like a cave, and in the cave, they found another cave, which basically the double cave, right? So he found a cave inside the cave. In the second cave, he could only crawl into there. And when he crawled into there, there was no light, but he was feeling around. And he said he literally felt like he was, basically laying on bones of bones upon bones of bodies, right? And then they researched it, and they found that the Jews from none other than Gaza, the Jews of Gaza, they used to do this. They used to bury their dead. They used to dig them up many years later, and they used to come and bury them in the Ma'arat HaMachpelah because they wanted to be next to Avraham Avinu. So first they would bury them until they disintegrated. Once they disintegrated, they would collect their bones and then put them in that cave, and there's probably thousands of people buried really in the cave of the patriarchs. It was kosher. Jewish people did it, and I'm assuming they did it with rabbinical. Huh? But it was in a cave. It's closed. It's closed up. It's considered burial because it's closed. It's not up there in public. It's underground.
That's what the patriarchs did too, right? They took the bones and they put them down there in the
Well,
cave.
I think they buried them full body. I think they buried the full body together down there, right? Anyways, they say that's where there's a portal to the Garden of Eden. Yeah, it does. Anyways, we got into this because we started speaking about spooky stuff. Our spooky stuff led us to cremation. Don't do it. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I was telling you the story. I missed half of the story. So the woman tells me how she saw when her father was cremated. She saw him come to her in a dream where he was screaming, burning alive. And so he's like, but she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't want my mom to be cremated because of this whole story. But how could I stop it? So I said, listen, if I could potentially stop it, would you give consent? She said yes. So I called the lawyer who was in charge of the estate, right? And I told the lawyer as follows. I said, listen, I'm aware that it says in her will that she should be cremated. However, she wasn't very connected with the Jewish community. She's far away from the Jewish community. And so she doesn't know that her religion really is very against cremation. And therefore, I think we shouldn't cremate her. And I'm talking to a lawyer who's officially in charge of the estate. I thought I was gonna, goy lawyer. I thought I was gonna have to, start fighting and threatening. I didn't. The lady's like, listen, I don't care what we do with this. What do I care what we do with this lady's body? I don't care, right? As long as the family's happy, he's good to go. So I said, well, I spoke to the daughter. She said that's. So she says, no problem. I'll make a phone call. She calls the daughter. The daughter says that I would like her to be buried, and that's it, done. So we buried her.
Wow.
It wasn't that difficult. It wasn't that difficult in actuality. There was a lot of things because she was 2 hours away. I had to bring a minyan. I collected a couple of Israeli travelers and told them that's it. We have to go to make a minyan for this woman. And we made a minyan down in Invercargill. You ever heard of Invercargill? Invercargill is the lowest, the southernmost city in New Zealand. If you go a little further, Invercargill, it's the south of the South Island.
Whoa.
As a matter of fact, if you want to go, there's an island south of the South Island called Stewart Island. You ever heard of that? Stewart Island is south of the South Island of New Zealand. And to get to Stewart Island, you go to Invercargill, and then you can take like a boat to Stewart Island. As far as I know, there's no major population on Stewart Island. I think there might be a few people that live there, but there's no, I don't know who lives there, but it's anyways. That is the story with New Zealand. Yeah.
If someone's cremated,
Yeah.
philosophically, like, are the ashes at the same level as the body? Like,
It's a good question. It's a good question. Do you need to bury the ashes of somebody that's cremated? I don't know. I've never looked it up.
That's to my grandfather, unfortunately.
Yeah. Why his ashes are still out
My
there?
grandfather, who named me at my bris, got himself cremated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And his ashes are still hanging out somewhere?
I think in my mother's house.
Yeah. She's like, here's.
I have like some
Huh?
Gotta get that thing out of there.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, I don't know. You have to ask a rabbi that knows better. It's a good question. No, but it's a good question because if it's burnt into ashes, it might not be considered a body anymore.
Really? That's still me.
Yeah. No. Again, you have to look. Yeah, I think a bone has to be a bone the size of a kazayas. It's not so simple. Yeah, there's halachas about it.
Something specific you do or can do for Jews that are cremated?
I don't know. I haven't really looked into this enough, other than that I could tell you that a Jew should definitely not be cremated. Huh? Speak to rabbis. Find some rav that knows it. Huh? The ash of a non-Jew. First of all, a non-Jew's remains, even their actual remains, you only become impure if you touch them. Right? Whereas a Jew, even if they're in the same house as you, the truth is even a goy, I think is in the same house, but not if you walk over. A Jew, if you walk over the grave of a Jew, you could become impure. In other words, in some ways, a Jew is more the dead body of a Jew is more impure than that of a non-Jew, right? Because the Jews have to be better than we have to be better than everybody else anyway. You know, like even when it comes to impurity, we gotta be better.
Oh, that's definitely true. Look at George Soros.
Yes, on both sides. When we're pure, we have to be more pure. When we're impure, we have to be more impure.
Yeah, it's like Jedi and Sith. I don't know what's really
Ah.
going on. I'm saying seriously, I don't know what to do with my grandfather's ashes.
What? It's still around?
Well, like I didn't want to take him into my house, so I gave him to my father.
Yeah.
But he's just sitting there because he doesn't know what's going on. I'm not sure if we need to buy a specific plot of land, like you need to find out if we can just bury it somewhere.
So I would suggest contact a rabbi who is known to give general wide halachic advice and follow that advice. Yeah. Wow. You also have ashes lying around somewhere?
It's not me. My aunt passed away 7 months ago, and she was cremated.
Right. And her ashes are sitting in somebody's house?
I assume that they brought them home and they're sitting somewhere without their house. I haven't talked to them much.
All right. Crazy stuff. Let's not deal with people's ashes. Let's try to deal with the spooky demons trying to bite us when we're doing double or when we're doing.
I called it Spooky Talmud today.
Spooky Talmud. That's why we're getting more hits. They're like, wow, Spooky Talmud.
Yeah.
All right.
How many people are watching?
At the moment 3, there was before 5 and then 7. By the way, this counter is not a good counter because one time I was watching the YouTube counter and it only went up to like 3, right? And then I went onto YouTube and it said I had up to 10 people. So I think there's a lot more people than it says. Anyways, good. If you're out there, let me know by putting in some comment in the the comment on the video, and then we know that you're here. You can say hi. Maybe I might even say hi back, depending on my mood.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe, smash the bell button, all that stuff. But also, you know what you should also do? You should comment or ask questions, especially if you have any questions on the topic. Okay, if it's on the topic, by the way, I answer questions. It comes up on my computer, and I answer questions. If it's not on the topic, then I get picky and choosy. If I think it's a good question, I'll answer it. If I don't, I won't. All right. What? Are you trying to watch me on? You could watch me live. Why do you want to live? You want? He spoke Spooky Talmud. There you go. There you go.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. I need a tissue if you don't mind. Can you pass a tissue here, please? All right. Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis taught as follows: Sheisha kiflayim, somebody that drinks 2. Shaul, could you pass the tissues if you don't mind? Somebody that drinks double Dami Baroishai, his blood is in his head. We didn't mention this yesterday, but it's the start of a conversation. And it's the start of a conversation, and so I went back to it. All right? If you drink 2, which means you drink 2 cups of wine, your blood is in your head, which means, in other words, that it's extremely dangerous to do that. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Amosai, when does this rule apply? This rule doesn't apply to every time that you drink 2 cups, but it only applies if you did not see the face of the marketplace. Somehow by seeing the face of the marketplace, you ruin this negative aura that comes with drinking pairs. But if you see the face of the marketplace, then you could drink again. You basically see the marketplace. No face. I mean, you face the marketplace. Yeah. No, really means the face of the marketplace. It means you saw it. That's another way of saying you saw the market. Right? I guess when you see a group of people, a lot of people, it somehow breaks the spooky aura off of you. Yeah. Where did we go? I lost myself here. Amar Rav Ashi says, Chasina le Rav Chanina. I've seen Rav Chanina that did as follows. Bar Bibi. Rav Chanina Bar Bibi, the Achal Kasa, have enafik v'chazi apei shuka, that every time he would drink a cup of wine, he would go and see the marketplace. Just by seeing the marketplace, it broke this negative aura of pairs. And all these rules do not apply unless it's only if you're going to go traveling. So meaning if you're going to drink in your house, just a party, and then you're going to just hang out in your house, then it's fine. But if you're going to drink and then you're going to go on travel, you're going to go somewhere, then you might be harmed by the aura of pairs, because a person drank the 2 pairs. In his own house, it doesn't apply. Rabbi Zera says, a person going to sleep is the same as going on a trip. So, for example, if you drink pears and then you go to sleep, that might damage the person through these evil demons that will come attack them. Exactly. So, meaning that the demons, even though the demons very often can pounce on you when you have the concept of pears on you, however, they need to find some vulnerability there. It has to be some type of vulnerability involved in order for this to be. Okay? In order for the demons to attack you, you have to be invulnerable. So if you go traveling, when a person is traveling, they're vulnerable. They're away from people. They can be attacked by strangers. When you're going traveling, you're vulnerable. When you go to sleep, you're vulnerable. When a person, as it says, Rav Papa says, if you're going to go out to the toilet bowl, in those days, you had to leave your house to go to the toilet. Yeah. So that's also like you're going traveling, which means if you drink a pear and then you go out to take a dump, as they say in modern English, then it could potentially harm the person. I don't know why that's so funny. In the olden days. No, by the way, the reason I said a dump specifically is because in the olden days, they used to have this outhouse. But if they needed to go number 1, very often they had other ways in the house. Sometimes they would just pee in a bucket. They'd have a bucket that would have a cover. Sometimes they'd have a hole in the wall that you could pee outside the hole in the wall or something like that. Outhouse. Yeah. The outhouse usually they only went to when they had serious business to take care of. And very cold. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ubebeisei loy. Oh, so now the Gemara is going to ask a question. If a person remains in their house, they won't be attacked by demons, because even if they submitted themselves to the concept of pairs, yeah. V'har Rava mani kashuri, but Rava mani kashuri. What's mani kashuri? The money. Now I remember what it is. He used to count beams. When he would drink in his house, he would drink a cup and then say 1. And then he would drink another cup and say 2. And he would drink a third cup and say 3. And he would always stop drinking on an odd number so that he doesn't become susceptible to the concept of pairs.
Why do you have to count the demons?
Because that was his way of reminding himself where he was holding. Right? He remembered the last beam he counted, and if the last beam he counted was 3, then he knows it's 3. Right? So he used to count beams in order to ensure that he was not going to end on an even number. But Abaye kishosi chad kosa, when he would drink 1 cup, mankitle ime terei kosi, his mother would hold 2 cups, right? So if Abaye would say l'chaim and start drinking 1 cup, his mom would be like there with 2 cups. Oh, I got 2 cups for you. Why? Because if he drank 1 cup, now he drinks another 2 cups. He has 3 cups, and it's an odd number. And then he's not susceptible to the concept of pairs, and the demons can't go and bite him. Yeah, spooky. Yeah. Sometimes people look at my face and say, "If you see my face, I can't be spooky." You know, I can't be spooky. I can't be too spooky, right? Can I get you really scared? No. Anyways, good. Again, so when Abaye would drink 1 cup, his mom would hold 2 cups. So this way he'll have 3 cups. Trei kosi, when he drank his 2nd cup, yeah. Sorry. But Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, trei kosi, when he would drink 2 cups, man kitlei shami chad kosi, his shamish would hold 1 cup. Yeah. Chad kosi, man kitlei trei kosi. If he would drink 1 cup, then his shamish, his caretaker, would hold 2 kosi. B'trei yodei. Yeah. So over here we see that both Abaye, Rava, and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, even though they were drinking in their own home, they were careful not to drink 2 cups because they were afraid to be susceptible to the concept of pairs, which could make them vulnerable to demonic possession. Huh? Well, apparently not. These three rabbis were careful, even in their own home, not to drink pairs, because if they drank pairs, they might be attacked by the demons.
Even if you have mezuzah?
Huh? It could potentially, but not necessarily. Yeah, Charles, waiting. He's raising his hand. Can I know that?
Is it only cups of anything?
What? It says cups. We see the concept of 2. Somebody even over here on kick. That's kick, right?
Yeah, kick.
It's Mr. Z Oinken. How do you say that name? How do you say it? Z Oinken. Oh, zoinked. Oh, zoinked. This guy's zoinked, man.
Doesn't say anything about 2 chains.
Good question. So the Talmud itself does not mention the concept of 2 chains, but as I've mentioned in the past, is that the whole concept of 2 and pairs it makes it susceptible to demonic possession, because they have difficulty possessing something with an odd number. Why? We spoke yesterday because of our friend. What was our friend's name over there? What's called number 3? What's it called? From X?
Oh, the ChatGPT.
No, not ChatGPT. Grok 3. Our friend Grok 3 quoted us some Kabbalistic sources yesterday, which I have yet to check up and verify, but it would make sense. But he says that the concept of 2, because it could be split equally, an odd number, because it could be split equally, it represents division and duality, and God is singularity, and therefore something with an odd number, the demons who are from the negative side cannot deal with, because they need to divide and conquer. And now if they cannot divide, they cannot conquer.
How 1.5 equally split 3?
Huh?
I was 1.5 and 1.5 equal 3. I understand 2 divided by
Right.
1 and 1. How is it not equal of 3 being more than
No, because then then they have to cut. Yeah, but they have to split it, and they're not allowed to split it. They can only possess something that's already split. Again, they cannot cause division. They could only take division and break it further. And by the way, this is Kabbalistically true. Okay, people today came because it says spooky on it, but it is. The truth is that these demonic powers have rules when they're allowed to attack, when they're not allowed to attack. They can't just attack whenever they want and however they want. They have rules, right? And seemingly, according to the Talmud, the rules is that they cannot divide. But once something's dividing or divided, then they can wreak havoc in the division itself, right? As a matter of fact, there's a saying in army when you want to take over a country called divide and conquer, right? Because if it's very hard when there's unity, it's very hard to split the unity. But if you could somehow get the enemy to split, it's much easier to widen the division. And that's essentially what the demons do, because if they have something that's an odd number, it's already divided, right? It's already divided, right? Hypothetically, it's already divided, and now they could come in, possess that division, and wreak havoc in that division. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, 2 more.
2 more, 3.
Again, 2 more, 3 total.
Yeah, this only counted back in the day, right?
Huh?
The whole concept of Zuger is only.
Who says there's people today that are very careful with Zugers? Yeah. Huh? Again, thank God I'm not a demon, or at least I don't think I am, so I don't know the rules of the demons 100%. I know what the Talmud says. I can tell you what the Talmud says. I cannot tell you that what rules the demons need to follow. It's said throughout the Talmud, throughout other things, there are very strict rules the demons must follow, right? And once they have, like we said over here, we said even if a person drinks pears, they can only be damaged if they're then in a vulnerable situation. Yeah? Yeah? What? Don't drink what? Yeah, don't drink pears. All right. Anyways, the Gemara asks a question. We have 3 rabbis, even in their house, were very careful with pears, even though they were not going to travel. So the Gemara answers, Adam Chashub Shani. An important person, a VIP, is different than everyone else. Since these people were VIPs, and VIPs, because they have some superior spiritual capabilities to others, they become more susceptible to demonic behavior, because who would the demons rather hurt or harm? Some random Joe Schmo from the street, or somebody who actually is influential, who's powerful, right? Because if they're able to attack somebody that's powerful, influential, they are then wreaking more havoc than if they are attacking some homeless dude that no one ever knew on the street. What's that? It is. It is. As a matter of fact, Kabbalistically, it speaks about this in Kabbalah. One of the reasons it says to be careful about learning Kabbalah, it actually says this, is because when you learn Kabbalah, you're actually going to become more refined spiritually, right? And therefore, you will be more susceptible to be a target to negative energies, right? They will try to attack a person who's holier more than somebody that's not. Apparently, the evil side feeds off of the evil they cause. And what's evil? Damage, hate, division, right? The key, exactly. They feed off of damaging others. It's a little bit like a predator. A lion. The only way the lion could eat is by killing something else, right? Sometimes you have to feel bad. You watch the National Geographics and you see all these lions go and tear apart an animal that's that, right? You see all the cows innocent and the lions this evil, whatever it is. But realistically, the cow, it could physically eat the grass and survive, right? If the lion ate the grass, it would die. It cannot. It's not built that way, right? And the same thing, the evil forces are built. They live off of preying on the damage that they can cause in this world. So if they cause a little damage to a little person, and not necessarily a little person, but a person who has very little influence, right? So then their damage is relatively limited. They don't get much. Whereas if they go after somebody with more power, they don't necessarily go after them because somebody with more power perhaps also has more power of defense. But when you deal with people of extreme spiritual quality, you find that a little mistake, the evil energies will just pounce on it. Right? The Lubavitcher Rebbe, for example, was extremely strict about certain things, and he didn't tell other people to be strict about them. It was only like he did them. He did them. He didn't tell other people to do them. He did them himself. Why? Because he knew that himself, he was more susceptible to being attacked by the evil energies than anyone else. So he felt he had to be more strict. I've actually heard a story where somebody once came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and it was in France, and there were 2 kosher bakeries, and the Rebbe would only go to one of the kosher bakeries. And somebody who was either a friend or a relative of the other kosher bakery says, "Why you go to that kosher bakery? You think it's more kosher?" And he said, like, and he basically pointed out some issues with that bakery. And they said that they saw the Rebbe just stopped eating anything baked, no baked goods. He stopped eating from both bakeries. Right? You say, why? Well, again, even though the Rebbe probably, if he ate in the bakery, he probably knew that it was kosher. However, the second somebody dared suggest that it's not kosher, the very fact that somebody suggested that, he didn't want to eat from it.
Same thing with the Benedictine.
Yeah, same thing with Benedictine is right. Benedictine was a drink Benedictine is a drink that was drunk by a lot of the Chabad rabbis, I think 3 or 4 generations of Chabad rabbis. And somebody in 770 once mentioned, how do you know what's in Benedictine if it's made by Benedictine monks? This religious group, who knows what they do with the Benedictine? Now, what happened is that the Rebbe said, he said, my father-in-law drank this, his father drank this. He listed a whole bunch of people that drank Benedictine, and he says, because of this ignoramus, we're not going to drink it anymore. And he never drank it again, at least publicly. Now, what happened is that the Hasidim are like, well, why do you call him an ignoramus? He asked a good question. And they did research, and they found out for the last 100 years already, it's not been done by Benedictine monks. The Benedictine company was actually commercialized many, many years ago, and there is no connection to any religious group anymore. It was originally started by Benedictine monks 100 and 150 years ago, something like that. Right? He's looking it up. He's going to Grok. He's like, Mr. Grok, is Rabbi Kopel knows what he's talking about, or is he just talking at China? Go, Mr. Grok. Trust him more than you trust me. Yeah. Just go ahead. Huh? Who? No, they were not Jewish. They were part of the monks. They were part of some Christian group, whatever it is. It was actually very popular. What? Yeah. So I want you to go and look up about the Benedictine monks.
It's in most Chabad weddings.
Yeah.
Most Chabad weddings, they have it.
Yeah, Benedictine Dom, D-O-M. It says actually, it's my favorite. Benedictine Dom, if you actually drink it, it's sweet and it tastes really good, and you hardly taste the alcohol there, and it's just as strong as vodka. So it's like 40%. So like you drink it and you feel like you're drinking nothing. Before you know it, you're like sugar.
You should buy some Benedictine for a quart.
Yes.
So the demons attack VIPs, very, very influential pasuk.
Oh, so here we see in our Gemara, we see where the VIPs were extremely careful not to drink in pairs, even if they were staying at home. Why? Because they knew that they were VIPs and that the evil energies would prefer to attack them versus others. They were extra careful to protect themselves against the concept of zugos, of pairs, of things in odd numbers. All right? You say that seems odd? Yeah, exactly. Huh? It was actually very popular you're speaking about the Benedictine monks. It was actually very popular, especially amongst the Christians. We don't really see it today too much, but amongst the Christians, it was very popular that you would have these people or these groups of people that wanted to kind of dedicate themselves to religion and spirituality, and they would pretty much move away from society, right? They would build themselves these monasteries where they would live. They would live away from everyone else, right? And they used to very often. How did the monastery? How did they pay for food? How did they? So usually they would produce something, right? It was actually very popular. They were very often there was factories that were built around this concept, right? It was a way that they would work. Maybe they would work a couple hours a day, but they had a company together, so they didn't have to work so much because they all got together to produce something. And yeah. So it was it was a way of providing for their needs while living away from the rest of society. Was they would produce some product, they would sell it, and that's how they'd support themselves. All right, good. Now we're gonna read an interesting part over here, and a little bit more about the zugos concept, about the odd number concept, or the even number concept. Amar Ula. Ula says as follows: Asara koises ein bahem mishum zugos. If you're drinking 10 cups, you don't have to worry anymore. Even though 10 is still an odd number, but when you got already to 10, forget about it. You probably don't even remember how many cups you drink. And no, it doesn't say that. It just says for some reason, when you reach the number 10, you don't have to worry about zugos anymore. Huh? What? What are you talking about? Yeah, what about it? It's a Rebbe's thing, yeah. So let's deal with that. We're going to learn to hear in this Gemara.
Do those cups need to have a revius in order to count?
Huh? I need to run to get this phone. It's a very important phone call. We'll continue this in about 2 minutes. Okay?
Wait, I'm gonna go to a cutscene.
All right, we're back. Okay, let's continue. We're going to deal. So we started. Ula says 10 cups does not have zugais. Yeah? Ula l'tamei, what is this reason? What is the reason that Ula says 10 cups doesn't have zugais? The Amar Ula, because Ula says, and some people said it wasn't Ula that said it himself, but it was actually taught in, in a Braisa. The rabbis established that you should drink 10 cups in the house of a mourner. And if you think that 10 cups has the concept of zugais, of pairs, how on earth would the rabbis establish something that could lead to a sakana? Yeah.
What is a cup? What do they consider a cup? More than
A cup is a cup. The very fact that you have a cup is a cup. So.
It doesn't matter how much
It could be a bigger cup, a smaller cup. The fact that you're putting it in one measurement of a cup, it counts it. It could be potentially counted towards zugais.
It doesn't need to be a full cup either. So if
Huh?
I have a small shot glass. And I
It
fill
could be.
halfway
It
up,
could be problematic. Yeah.
not-
Yeah. It could be. Yeah. It could be. Again, these are spiritual stuff. I don't know 100%, but that's the way it is. Okay. So again, Ula says the number 10 or a 10 cups cannot bring to sakana. Avol tamniya yesh behem mishum zugais. However, 8 you got to worry about. You have to worry about 8. Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna. Rav Chisda, the son of Rav Huna, says the Amri Tarvayu. They both say. Sorry, Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna. They both say. Shalom l'toiva mitzdaref l'roloi mitzdaref. The word shalom, which is the 7th word in the pasuk of the blessings. If you know, there's the blessings. The blessing that the Kohanim give. The first verse has 3 words. The second verse has 5 words, and this third verse has 7 words. As you can see, 3, 5, 7 are odd numbers, right? Very interesting. However, listen. Yes, if 3, 5, 7 are odd numbers, and I guess 1 is God, right? So 1 is God, but when he's blessing others. He blesses others in the 3, 5, 7. So 3, 5, 7 are all special blessing numbers, right?
Yeah. I also noticed the times on yard site candles are all odd numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that
I
mean?
noticed that yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
What? What is this,
they're all
like
3
25?
hour, 5 hour, 7 hour.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe they don't want to do it. Maybe they don't want to do the odd number. They're afraid of the odd number.
The even number. They're afraid of
The even number. Sorry, they're afraid of the even number. Anyways, the 7th word in the blessing of the Kohanim is shalom. Shalom is the number 7. Okay. So says Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, they say that the word shalom, which means the number 7 in general, it could connect for good, but it doesn't connect for bad. Right? Yeah. Mitzdaref l'teiva, l'rolei mitzdaref. In other words, when you drink 7, now you're going to drink 8. If you're going to tell me that number 8 is pairs and is zugais, that means that you have to count number 7. But Mr. Number 7 says, listen, I'm a blessing number. Number 7 is a blessing number. He says, since I'm a blessing number, there's no way on earth that I am going to allow myself to cause harm. I'm not causing myself harm. I'm not causing harm. Right? He refuses to cause harm. So 7 tells number 8, he says, I'm sorry, number 8. If you are going to make pairs, then count me out.
7, 8, 9.
Huh?
That's why 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
That's why 6 was afraid of 7.
Yeah, 6 is afraid of that. Now just think about it. If 7 takes himself out of the picture, then 8 is really comes number 7, right? And that's odd. Now, what it says is it will connect to do something good, but not to something bad. So number 6, if you drink 6 and then you drink 7, so the 7 will say, yeah, I'm counted with 6 to make 6 odd. but I'm not counting with you 8. I'll count with 6 to make this. Again, it will count with 6 because by counting with 6, it's turning into an odd number, which means it's saving from the demonic possession, right? Again, it's saving 6 from demonic possession, yeah? And therefore, it will connect to 6, but it will refuse to connect to 8 because number 7 says I'm a blessing number. And as a blessing number, I'm only counting one way. I'm only going to connect for good. I'm not going to connect for evil. Again, it's connecting when it has a good effect and not when it has a bad effect. Since by connecting down, it has a good effect, which means it destroys the ability to be possessed from the number 6, right? It destroys the possession power of number 6, so then I'll be 7 to destroy possession power. But to make possession power, he refuses. Again, it refuses to be susceptible to whatever. Yeah. Anyways, good. However, that group of people said, again, Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, they said 6 could be, you could have doubles, meaning you could have zugos with 6. Rabba and Rav Yosef Rabba and Rav Yosef says, no, hold on a second. Vichuneka. The word vichuneka, which is the 5th number of the 7, the fifth number of the second blessing, which means number 5 has a powerful blessing, a power of blessing. He too says, I'm not connecting for evil. So the second you have 4, and then you have 5. The 5 says, you know what? I'm going to connect to 4 because by connecting to 4, I'm going to prevent demonic possession. However, I'm not going to connect with number 6. So therefore, if you drink 6, you're still protected. You know why you're protected? Because 5 refuses to connect with 6. It says, if I connect with 6, then you could have demonic possession. Forget about it. I'm not allowing that to happen. Yeah? So he says, but 4 does have, they say 4 does have zugos. Now you have Abaye and Rava. Abaye, where is it? Abaye and Rava, they say, they go further, and they say, V'yishmerecho l'toiva mitztaref l'rola mitztaref. They hold, Abaye and Rava hold that V'yishmerecha, which is the 3rd word in the first blessing of the Kohanim, it too says, listen, I'm number 3 and I'm a number of blessing, and therefore I refuse to connect for evil. I can only connect for good. So therefore he says the number 3, once you get to the number 3 is going to, he's going to connect to destroy demonic possession, but he will not connect to empower demonic connection. Right? So in other words, what are we left with? 2. Only number 2 is a negative number in this thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Number 2 has 5.
Huh?
Second verse has 5.
That's right. The first verse has 3, then 3, 5, 7, as I show you. It's basically the order of odd numbers, right?
It would make sense.
Again, 1 is at God, so we don't have one. You can't really have a word, by definition. If you want to give a blessing, you have to have more than one word. One word can't just be like.
It makes sense that 2 would be like the seed of evil in a way, because it's the first time that you have something that's not 1, right? The first time you have something that's separate from the unity of God is an other. The first time you have an other, which is kind of like
which basically, you know, in the Christian world, Christian world, they don't like the number 6. I don't know why. They're very into the number 6.
Especially 666.
Yeah, 666 for that. Right. Anyways, but as you can see over here in Judaism, the only really negative number would be number 2, because it is division, right? But once you get to number 3, which unifies the divided, then it refuses to redivide. It says, well, no, I'm unifying the divided. I will not allow more division here.
Oh, it's like the word achar, the resh is a line connecting 2 points, but the dalid is a line connecting 3 points. That's the difference between achar and achad. It's the resh versus the dalid. Yeah. The resh is a line connecting 2 points. The dalid connects 3 points.
Yeah.
No, it's just supporting what you're saying.
We've got some serious Kabbalists going on over here. So let's just finish off quickly. Rava is basically backing up his own opinion that he says in another place. The Rava apkinu l'arba kaises. Apkinu l'arba arba kaises. Abaga the ischaz, the itzak. Rava Bariloi. He held like his position, even though somebody was damaged from drinking 4 cups. However, he did not care about this. Why? Because he says that the real reason why that guy got damaged was not because he drank 4 cups, but because he asked a question in the middle of the rabbi's talk. Yeah, be careful. Meaning, it seemed like he kind of challenged him in the middle of his talk. And he basically embarrassed his teacher publicly by asking a question in the middle of the talk. He should have waited. Wait a little bit. Wait till the rabbi's done.
Wait a little bit.
Yeah, wait a little bit until it's done.
Sorry,
The chutzpah.
The chutzpah. Anyways, that is actually the end of the quota for this week, which means you have now finished it all. I want to remind you guys how important it is to read and read and read over again and again and again till you get it in the words of the Gemara. This is going to make you into a Talmudic genius. Okay, it actually says that the oisios machkimas means the letters themselves make you wise. All right, so by you reading these letters and understanding the letters in the letters of the Talmud, you'll understand what I said much better than at the current moment. All right? I think this X really likes the word spooky because I never had so many people on my thing from X before. X is like full. We have like 9 people on
Honestly,
X.
I think we have to do it.
Whose X is it? Is your X?
X.
Whose account is it? Oh, your account.
We could switch to your X if you want.
No, my X doesn't have anybody on it. I actually don't. I never really got very into the X thing. I actually have an account. Never did. Huh?
X is Twitter. You know what I think?
We X'd the name Twitter.
We have to do different titles every day.
We X'd the name quit Twitter. How about that? We X'd the name Twitter.
We have to do different titles every day. I think that's part of the thing.
Yes, good. All right. Well, thanks for seeing us. Thanks for coming. If you have any last comments, questions, whatever, please. Thank you.
See if anyone has any questions.
Yeah. Anybody has any questions? We'll give you a couple of seconds. There's a bit of a delay on this, so. Yeah.
I'll put the QR code for the group.
Good. The QR code for our group.
Shout out to all the X's.
There's probably like 5 goths watching that.
Oh yeah. You know, they're sitting in the dark room with eyeshadow on, like.
Good. Zell.
It's engagement. I think it's change the title. But also the conversation topic is like widely applicable to anyone.
Anyone spooked out by us? Are we still on here? We're still on. We got to be careful. No one wrote any messages. Maybe one day. By the way, I've never gotten messages here from X. Does X even allow messages onto this thing?
Yeah, no one's ever put comments on the videos. You can put comments on the video on X and we'll answer them.